This person that is going to be talking to us today is somebody that every Nigerian should know. He is the former governor of the CBN. CBN is like the Central Bank of Nigeria, I think they call it. Central Bank of Nigeria, right? So Central Bank of Nigeria is like the Federal Reserves in America and the central bank in many other countries. So Central Bank of Nigeria president. This was one of the rather very disciplined and very successful, very, man with integrity that was in that CBN. He exposed a lot of guys. He exposed Jonathan. He exposed the 220 billion that was stolen. He exposed a lot of things. But the video that I'm going to show today is concerning him exposing the top religious leaders of our country. The top religious leaders of our country. So this guy is going to be talking about a particular person that we all know who actually was involved in corruption act. And that, you hear the whole story, but he said more than that. He said a lot of things about Nigeria that we all need to know about. We all need to hear about what this guy say about Nigeria, the potential of Nigeria, where Nigeria is coming from, and what is disturbing Nigeria from going further, higher, which is graft, mainly graft. The main problem of Nigeria is graft and corruption. And he is saying that one of the vested interests in Nigeria, some of the who are actually responsible for the death of the country are our religious leaders. So we don't have virtues. So we have religiosity. Religion is supposed to be responsible for the virtues of the country, but rather it is the religious leaders that are actually responsible for the vices and for the corruption in the land. So let's see the video.
I'm going to speak to you today about overcoming the fear of vested interests. It's a topic that I have come to be engaged in mentally because I have learned in the 4 years or so that I've been in Abuja that if we understand that, we may begin to unlock the key to how to change our world, the world of the country in which we live. And what is this country? It's a country of 167 million people, as you know. Largest population in Africa, second biggest economy on the African continent. In 1960, with a per capita income that was higher than per capita income of South Korea. 1960, Nigeria was the preferred investment destination, preferred to Japan, according to U.S. Investment Advisory, which has always had potential, but which has never been able to realize that potential. A country that specializes in exporting what it does not produce and importing what it produces. One of the world's largest producers of crude oil that does not refine its own petroleum products and has to import petroleum products. The world's largest producer of cassava that does not produce starch or ethanol. A large tomato belt, yet the world's largest importer of tomato paste. A country that from my childhood I have heard had the potentials for being a world power. But every day we talk about potentials. Every day we talk about potentials. Today we still talk about the potentials of Nigeria. And yet, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Brazil, all of those countries have turned the potential that they had into reality. What are these? What's the one thing that, if I were to ask, what is the one thing that we need to do to break this barrier that faces us? In 4 years in Abuja, I've come to the conclusion that we need to overcome the fear of vested interests. And I'll talk you through a little bit of my own experiences as governor of Central Bank and use that as a basis or as a template for what I think we need to do if we change this country. I became governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria in 2009. And this was in the middle of a global financial crisis. I came to the central bank knowing that banks had problems and believing that these problems were caused by a global crisis, by the collapse in the capital market, the collapse in the price of oil, and that they would be fixed by simply addressing the normal risk management issues in banks. Shortly after I came in and one went through investigations, I discovered that the Nigerian banking system was infested with the same corruption of the rentier system in this country. That a number of bank chief executives had taken their banks and fleeced those banks and literally taken away depositors' money to buy property all over the country, all over the world. And just like people do in ministries or in government agencies or whenever they have opportunities in all companies, the banks were themselves a site for rent seeking. The fundamental character of the Nigerian state is that for decades since we found oil, it has existed not to serve the people, but as a site for rent extraction by a very small minority that controls political power. And it doesn't matter where this group comes from, whether it's North or South or Muslim or Christian or military or civilian. The state has always been a site for the extraction of rent, with the exception of a few years that we can think of where we've had development. And this is at the heart of the problems of the country. Now, when we discovered this, and I'll give you a few examples, and these are well known now, they've been published. You know, there was one chief executive officer that took away from her bank over 200 billion naira. Okay, that was over $1 billion. And where was this money taken to? Purchase of property. We recovered from one CEO 200 pieces of real estate in Dubai, real estate in Johannesburg, real estate on the Potomac in Washington, apart from shares in over 100 companies. And all of that was purchased with depositors' funds. We went to the court in UK on the case of another CEO. We got a judgment against that CEO for 142 billion naira, stolen from the bank, taken to buy shares and manipulate the shares of his own institution, and also transferred outside to purchase property. Now, the first CEO we were able to convict, we recovered these assets and got a 6-month sentence and sorted it out. The second CEO, we finished our case, established in Nigeria, that we had a civil case in the UK, had a criminal case in Nigeria, established the case. 2 weeks before the closing statements were made, the judge was miraculously promoted to the Federal Court of Appeal. After 3 years of trial, at the very end of trial, because someone, a very popular religious leader with hundreds of thousands of supporters, carried into political authorities, and the system that was supposed to protect depositors and handle criminals was used and manipulated to promote a judge so that he would not convict a thief. Now, this is an example and an instance of the kinds of things that happen in a country that stop a country from reaching its full potentials. But my experience with the banking reforms and how it affects the fear of vested interest was the following. After we discovered the things that happened in the banks, the critical thing we had to do was take a decision that would pitch us against powerful political and economic forces. We were dealing with chief executives that in 2009...
Okay, I think we have to... what we are going to do is that we are going to start all over again. And I want us to be able to analyze what's going on. First of all, I wanted you to have an idea of what Nigeria is, where Nigeria is, and what is responsible for where we are. And this person, believe me, he knows what he's talking about. Now, but the thing we are talking about is, let's show the topic. So, urgent measures to rescue the African church. We must get rid of religiosity without values. Now, you know, when this man, we are talking about religiosity without violence. So, despite all this devastation you have had, all this horrible stuff that is happening to the country, what would you think a religious leader would do? You would think a religious leader is the one that will say, no, this thing must not be happening in Nigeria. We must uproot this kind of evil from our country. But it is rather the religious leaders of our country that are promoting graft, that are promoting corruption, that are actually responsible for people who are convinced of corruption not to be prosecuted. I mean, you all know what is happening. You remember 2 days ago I showed a video where Gio Adeboye had, narrated a story of how he got rescued or delivered from, the police, from the legal authority. You see, everything is confirming. Everything is coming back to the same thing. So in his own personal life, he got rescued from the legal authority of the land. And he used dubious way to get that rescue, deliverance, through the area boys, yes, through the bandits. Now, and at the end of that speech, he said that it doesn't matter how God delivers you, because they always credit God for everything. Because everything good for you, it means it's from God. So he said to people that, it doesn't matter who God will use to deliver you, as long as you are delivered. So with that particular statement shows us the fundamental thing that is wrong with Nigerian mentality and with my Nigerian mindset, which is, as long as it's good for me, I don't care what happens to the rest. It doesn't matter. I mean, the whole world, the whole country could collapse as long as it's good for me. And somebody will say, you don't understand that story very well. They wanted to take bribe. He didn't want to give bribe. Well, I understand it very well. I understood it very well. Because that is not the only scenario that I'm using to judge that situation. For example, let's look at Ibadan-Lagos Expressway or Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. It's the same mentality. It is just the value, it is the vice, the anti-value that is ruling the mind of our country right today. And it's coming from the religious leaders, from our pulpit. Because what you see in that Ibadan-Lagos Expressway is that it's the same principle. As long as it's good for me, as long as it's good for us, it let the whole world, perish. It doesn't matter what is happening to the rest of the world. Let the rest of the world perish. We don't care. Because that is the attitude, But Nigerian people don't want to question anything. We don't want to do critical thinking. I mean, there is just no way you will say that is not the philosophy. They might not be aware of what they are doing because they have not been thinking. They might not know how to define that, what they are doing. They might not have given it that same definition that I'm giving it. But as a thinking person, not just me, not that because I know more than everybody, like people are saying. No, but you challenge anybody that thinks from any other country, apart from Nigeria or Africa, where people are not religious, or even get a Nigerian that is thinking as a deep thinker, you will see that if all these religious leaders are not using this philosophy, then what philosophy do they have? Do they have the philosophy of Jesus? Do they have the value system of the New Testament? And what is the value system of the New Testament? Do unto your others as you wish that they would do to you. Do unto others as you wish that they would do to you. So is that what we are seeing? No, that's not what we are seeing. We don't see do unto others and as you wish that they would do to you in that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. In the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, what we are seeing is it's good for us. We are getting our crowd. We are getting our glory. We are praying to our God. We are getting our offerings. We are getting everything we want. As long as we are getting everything we want, we care less what happens to the rest of the world. Because other people will be standing on that expressway for like 6 hours, 4 hours, 7 hours, and we say, they are not to blame. It is the government to blame. No. If they really care for their neighbors as themselves, if they want to do for others unto others as they wish that it will be done to them, they will not treat other people like that. But in Nigeria, people care less about other people. People don't care about their neighbors. We don't know love. We don't have the definition of love. The same thing in this story here. And this story here, what you are hearing is this. This is my member, even though he has done something wrong, even though he has committed a crime, but as long as he's my member, as long as they are my members, I've got to deliver them from prosecution. They must not face the music. They must not face, penalty for what they have done. Why? Just because it's somebody that is close to me, or somebody that is my member, or somebody that brings money here. That's exactly how the whole Nigerian society has become. So politicians also do the same thing, and ordinary people also think like that because that is what they are used to. They are not. We don't live by the values of the Bible that says, don't do unto others as you don't want them to do to you. So this person has stolen the money of the whole country, and yet we are going to say they shouldn't be jailed and they shouldn't be prosecuted. They shouldn't take responsibility for their actions just because they are members. Will Pastor Adeboye or any other person have gone to the president to plead for those people if they had been Muslims? It's just like saying this minor and other people that are now being, there was some money that was found in Lagos, another one was found in Kaduna. Can you imagine now that if those money that was found in Kaduna and the money that was found in Lagos, then the priest or the imam of that man, what was the name of the man the money was found in Kaduna? You don't remember? And the one that was found in Lagos. Can you imagine that the imam will now go to the president so that they will set them free? I mean, Nigerians will tear that imam away. They will tear that imam apart. But the same Nigerians that will tear apart these imams and that will destroy the mosque and everything, they are the Christians. They will not dare, they will fight to defend their GO, even though GO is doing exactly that. So hypocrisy and the only value we have in Nigeria is called egocentrism. Egoism, egocentrism, that's the only value that we have that's working for us in Nigeria. So what I'm saying is we have religion without values. What we have is religiosity that is devoid of values. Now, we don't need, nobody needs religion, especially religion without values. Religion will only lead the country to destruction. Just like we said yesterday, religion doesn't lead to the development of a nation. Religion brings the digression of a nation. And then when it's religion without values, it's even worse. Sunday Adelaja here. If you believe in nation-building principles, please like this video, share it with your friends, and let's change our nations together.